What's up, everybody? Welcome to Louisiana Saturday Night. I'm Bradley. This is Coach. Coach, what's happening?
Not much. Ready to get this thing going.
Well, let's roll.
And it will be Saturday night in Death Valley.
All right. That's about more. That intro was more exciting than the entire damn game.
Yeah, I wish they had the high school rules where if it gets so out of line, they just run the clock in the second half, because those games, like the whole second half will take like 15 minutes and you're gone.
Yeah. So look, this game was supposed to be a bounce back game. I'm not sure we learned anything. I didn't learn anything. I learned that nothing really changed from week 1 to week 2. Did you see any big changes week 1 to week 2?
Of course I did. I expect you to say that. I wish we would have had a chance to do maybe that midweek show, and I think you'd have.
Well, I think it was Grambling State, so
yeah,
we didn't have a priority for that.
No. Here's what those guys, what I kind of saw in this game. Here's what they heard all week, right? And it's tricky as a coach because you've got to beat them down, right? Everybody from the coaches on down, they bought the hype. They got smacked in the face, and you got a reality check. So you've got to spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday beating them down. You are not as good as you think you are. You have to do everything right. Your shoes need to be tied right. With the way you walk out on this practice field needs to be right. The way you're dressed for practice needs to be right. And they are getting mauled. And those practices are LSU versus LSU. They are just going after it. I promise you that those three practices were harder than the game tonight, right? You weren't doing a whole lot of prep for Grambling, all right? Now, here's the tricky part, right? You can't just beat them down all week, right? Now you've got to build them back up and ramp back up. So you have these 2-3 days of getting beat down, and then you've got to start building them back up. So I think, and you see this a lot, like you see first quarters. I think even Georgia today was tied 3-3. Like, how is this? What is going on? Like, we look terrible. Well, we probably didn't do much of any Grambling prep all week. So you come out and you just as base as you can be on both sides of the ball, and well, that's what you get, right? Those guys, it's their Super Bowl, right? So they dial up a few things, and all of a sudden they're in it. But after that, you coach them up on the sideline. Hey, this is what they're doing. This is what we need to do. And then what happens.
I have to laugh. I have to chuckle because Jerry G, he's thinking the same thing. Well, we're not thinking the same thing. He said 72 points. My goodness. I'm thinking we scored 72 points, and I thought we looked like ass.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You don't need a game plan, right? We used to do this, right? We would play in one week. You're playing your toughest rival. The next week is a team who hadn't won a game in 2 years. I'm not spending a whole lot of time game planning, right? I mean, it was one of those like, hey, let's get this guy's 5 carries, get him a touchdown, get out, right? Hey, let's throw him a ball. Is a touchdown? Okay, get him out. And you saw that, right? You saw dedicated drives, right? When Diggs got in. It was like, hey, let's pound the ball, right? And he got like 9 straight carries, and we marched down the field. So it's not to sound like an insult to Grambling, but you're working on things, right? People who didn't get reps and people who didn't play a whole lot or need to work on things. Hey, we need to work on the run game. Okay, well, let's go out and have a whole drive, a run game. Or you saw early, like, let's throw the ball vertical, right? Let's take those shots. And then so I saw a lot more 2 tight end sets, which I liked. We didn't see any of that last week. The one thing missing still, and I think he kind of left the game early, was any vertical presence from Mason Taylor. But that's what I saw. I saw us working on things. That's what you do.
So let me ask you this, because we got off the show last week. We kind of talked about how the secondary wasn't as bad as everybody was like making it out to seem. There was a big controversy on Tiger droppings all week. You get the half of people that were like secondary was fine. That's not what happened. And the half of people were like, our defensive backs are trash. Heard about it on radio shows, podcasts all week. Okay. And I'm thinking about what we talked about, and I'm like, did I see it wrong? And, how did we see that game? And then we come out, and Grambling is catching everything all over us the first and second quarter. And I'm thinking, what the hell changed? What happened? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we looked as sharp as we wanted to start the game, but I think we did later on. And as the game progressed from the second quarter on, I mean, I didn't see anything after that. I mean, I saw us, they weren't nearly as open. I mean, those guys made some good plays.
Yeah,
Um,
I had
and
to
and again,
laugh. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, right? Like, did I see stuff as a coach? Did we get better and that they worked on things? Yeah. You're not going to learn anything from this game. Like, you're not going to say, okay, yeah, now we're ready for Arkansas. You're just not going to get that from watching. And you just don't know what the coaching staff's trying to get out of this game.
It was a super weird game because I think we went into halftime. It was 42-10 at halftime.
That sounds about right.
I think it was 42-10 at
Yeah.
halftime. And right before that, when it was 35-10, that was Grambling had just converted a third down or close to it. Guy gets up, punches I think it was the second down, punches our guy right in front of the referee,
Super
and it
smart.
backs him up. Okay. And now they have to punt. Grambling has to punt. And I'm thinking, is that the first punt of the game? And it was the first punt
Yeah.
of the game. Okay. And I'm like, how have we, in my eyes, looked this bad? The score is 35-10, and this is the first punt.
Yeah. Well, again, look, we had some quick hitting drives. They've actually put together a couple long drives, and they're working the clock a little bit. Look, you're not going to get a whole lot out of this game. You're not going to come out of this game. I don't care what the score is, how you looked, if you shut them out, if you did whatever, you still don't know, because even if you played lights out, you'd be like, it's Grambling. No, I still don't know.
All right. Here's some things that I
Right?
did get out of this game. Okay. Well, 2 were a bright spot. All right. And then a couple were a not so bright spot. All right. First one is Logan Diggs looked great. He looks like our best running back. He's got vision. He can see the hole, hits it hard. Thoughts on Logan Diggs? Lose you there?
Also sound again.
Yeah. All right. So Logan Diggs looked great, and we'll wait for Shane to jump back in. But Logan Diggs looked great. He had a lot of vision. Caleb Jackson looked good. Both of those guys, we didn't see Logan Diggs at all against Florida State. Time with Caleb Jackson was very limited against Florida State. So it was good to see them, heavy dosage of them in the run game. Some things that were pretty concerning to me were Harold Perkins, again, was not being used in a way that he should be used. Like he was back in coverage a lot, played a lot of nickel. We didn't see him flying over the field, making plays off the edge as well. Again, I talked about the secondary. I didn't think we looked hot tonight. And my biggest concern for me was Malik Neighbors. Jayden Daniels was not targeting him all that much. And I mean, look, he had 5 catches for 87 yards. It didn't feel like that. That's actually kind of bizarre. But I still think that connection needs some work, and they need to get stronger at that. As we work through the game, I guess 72 points is what you're supposed to do against a team like this. And we kind of, did what we needed to do, did what we had to do. It's weird to say it didn't look great because it felt like it didn't look great, but they moved the ball at will. They scored on every possession, and that's all we really can do. So let's see. Wait for some questions here. Get Shane back in. All right. When you jump in, tell us what was your favorite thing that you saw tonight, or what did you like? Maybe what didn't you like? The one big thing I forgot to mention is that I was actually super excited to see Ricky Collins, and that kind of kept me in at the end. I wish they would have let him throw the ball a little bit more. I get why they didn't. But it was good to see him. It was good to see all 3 quarterbacks. I do believe the future is bright at the quarterback position there. It's still a strong quarterback room. And, if you watch the Alabama-Tennessee game, Milroe, he can run the heck out of the ball. He had a couple of nice throws in that game. I'm not quite certain that, Nick Saban, he would take any one of our quarterbacks right now, probably. So it was good to see that. Jayden looked pretty good. He looked pretty sharp. Another concerning thing, though, is the wide receiver drops. We're getting more. We saw more of those. Brian Thomas dropped a couple of balls tonight. Lacey dropped the ball. Let's see, who else was it? It was. There he is. Welcome back, Coach.
All right. Let's see if we can get this right now.
Yeah. So I was talking about. I was giving a list down of the things that I was excited to see. Logan Diggs, Caleb Jackson. We really didn't get to see any of them in the Florida State game. They both look strong. Logan Diggs showed great vision, hitting the hole. And I was excited to see Ricky Collins at the end of the game. I've been waiting to see him. One of the things that was concerning to me, the Harold Perkins use didn't change at all. And maybe that was by design.
Well, I didn't see him lined up in the middle much.
Well, he wasn't lined in the middle, but he was in a ton of coverage.
Yeah, it wasn't coverage. But he was getting after the guy. I know he didn't get home a couple times, but he was had that guy on the run a bunch. But yeah, I mean, again, so I think they're still toying with that, right? Like, what do they want to do with him?
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of drops again this game, and I thought that it was kind of concerning that I looked around and I saw Malik Neighbors had 5 catches for 87 yards, but I really felt like we couldn't find him throughout the game.
Again, it's more of I don't look at it that way, right? It's like, what's the game plan? What are we trying to get out of this? Let's get 4 or 5 here. Let's get 4 or 5 catches there. Let's get more people involved. I mean, I can't put a whole lot of stock in these games just because it again, I don't want to insult Grambling people out there, but the practices were harder than this game.
Yeah.
So let's go out and be clean. Let's just execute certain stuff. And, like I said, we used to just dial things up like, hey, we're gonna get this guy a catch right now. And you call a play and get him a catch. Like, you can just do what you want, basically. I did enjoy the fact that I said the 2 tight end sets, which I liked. The run game was way more power oriented. You had a lot more pullers, and not as much. In fact, I don't remember seeing any zone read with Daniels. Which was what we've been living on.
Right.
So I think that was good. Kind of just establish that O-line, get him some confidence, and get a lot of running back some touches.
Yeah, I'm with you. So what are a couple of the other changes you saw that you were noticeable to you as a coach?
Like I said, just formationally, we weren't stuck in that 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end / fullback set basically the whole game. So I saw a lot more formation variation. Like I said, the run game was different, and the vertical shots were there. We were able to execute them. And I thought that the O-line did a really good job. Again, everyone's going to say, yeah, but it's Grambling. Yeah, but you still got to block these guys. They still got college athletes. So it was a clean game. We didn't have any holding penalties, didn't have any dumb offsides, delay of games, all kind of, it was just clean. And I think that's what you're looking for.
How did Jayden look to you tonight?
Good. I think he went through his progressions. There was a couple of times where, I think he wanted that shot, but he went and then instead of checking out on the running back, he, maybe came back to that deep dig across the middle a couple of times. So I thought he moved through his progression, at a quicker pace. He had the time to, but I think, if he's going to sit back in the pocket in those games where maybe we don't have 3 to 4 seconds, he's got to get through his progression quicker. And I thought he moved through his progression pretty quick tonight.
Yeah. As a coach, could you tell me in a game like this, when you have, I believe it's Mississippi State's up next, or Arkansas, are you concerned? Are you trying to not show that team anything looking ahead when you're playing a team like Grambling State?
Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. When you play these teams, again, you strip it down, the game plan to nothing, right? Because it's one of those, well, we can kind of go out and do whatever we want. So we don't need all this stuff. So let's get very back to the basics, first week of fall camp or spring practice type stuff, and go out and just execute and be clean, and build some confidence. You can literally go out and run whatever you want and beat this team. Grambling, there's no scenario where Grambling wins that game,
right.
So you don't need all that stuff. So yes, you're saving stuff for sure.
All right, back to the defensive back, since that is going to be the buzz probably in the early part of the season until either we figure it out or we just suck. Okay, one of the two. All right, but back to that. Early on in the game, and eventually things kind of got shut down. I think the pressure got greater, and that started to get to the quarterback a little bit more, and he started rushing a lot of his throws. But early on in the game, when Grambling was catching everything, okay, was it a matter of our defensive backs playing too far off the receivers, being lost in coverage, or not physical enough?
I didn't see any confusion. Like, we were there, we just weren't right on it. And I thought that sort of went back to, at least in my mind, is, well, we didn't spend a whole lot of time prepping for them. And I also don't know what Grambling showed last week, right? They may have been taking shots down the field all day. So of course, we'll play off and just come up and make the play. So you're leaving yourself open to those, sideline routes and, underneath stuff. So no, I thought we were there. I didn't see any busted coverages. I didn't see people looking at each other like, well, how did he get so open or anything like that. I think we were just sort of playing, safe, base defense stuff. And that was it. And that's the result. When you're playing 3 deep or dropping 4, like, the underneath stuff's going to be there. So I think it's just a result of just being as vanilla and back to the basics as you can be. I didn't see really much of any man coverage. And I think had you seen that, it might have been a little different story.
All right. So as you look across like the landscape of college football, we left last week. I mean, I felt kind of shitty about this team. I guess about how hyped I was. Look, Florida State's beating Southern Miss right now, 52-10, end of the third. I felt like some other teams came back to earth. Tulane kind of laid an egg against Ole Miss.
It's tough without your quarterback, right?
Yeah, it is tough. So I thought they kind of laid an egg against Ole Miss because they had chances. Tulane had chances.
Yeah, look, with 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left to go in the game, they go for it on 4th down and they're down 3 points. So they're driving to win the game and easily could have taken the lead there. And then in the next 3.5 minutes, all of a sudden they're down by 17 points. And you're like, man, what just happened? But they were playing to win. And I think from what I saw after the game, which I really like about what Tulane's doing, is that they were pissed. They were pissed they lost that game. They expected to win that game, So in years past, right? I mean, one, they're never getting an SEC team to even come to Tulane, and the fact that they were just pissed. So
So if you look at the other teams, Colorado, strong showing again.
Yep.
It's just kind of weird because Texas came into Alabama. Texas is a really good team. They're going to be a top 10 team, maybe top 5 team.
They'll jump. They're like the Notre Dame, right?
Right.
The media jump all over that.
But I actually thought like Bama looks shitty.
They have a quarterback problem. I mean, look, they lost the 3rd down battle and they lost the turnover battle. So they lost the game. Yeah, against a good team, right? You take away that pick that they returned to the 5-yard line, that's that 7-point swing right there.
And Ewers had time. Ewers made some great plays.
D-line did not get to him.
And he was finding open receivers all over the place, which is not normally what you see.
No, they did not look like a normal Alabama team. But look, just like us, right? They lost to a really good team. They've got a chance now to reset. And both of us should have 1 loss going into that game, and the winner wins the West.
Yeah, so like that's why I kind of look at, and I brought up these games around the first couple of weeks because a lot of people want to say the sky is falling. LSU still has everything to play for. They run the table. They still make the playoffs. You know what I mean? You still have a really amazing season. You probably lose 2 games, and if it's the right games, and make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, because Alabama doesn't. You could win the West, with one loss in the West. I think this year, Alabama could get, even if you don't beat Alabama, maybe they get tripped up by somebody else. I mean, it just seems a little bit more wide open than in years past.
And so I bring all that up because now, going from how we felt after the Florida State game, and look, Florida State's a top 3 team.
They're a playoff team. As long as they don't trip over themselves, they're more than likely should go undefeated.
Yeah. And then we had this bounce back game, which again is, we played air tonight and we played air well. How do you feel? Like, is it still the LSU thought? Do you still have the same questions?
Yeah, you won't know until you get into a real game, and you got a decent stretch here coming up, right? You open up SEC play. You got Arkansas, Mississippi State, Missouri, Auburn, and Ole Miss. Your next 5 games. So
yeah,
you'll find out here in the next month. If we've turned the corner, or if we're just this is not the year.
Yeah, I feel that. So
I think like you brought up some of those games. Like I said last week, you can't overreact by any win or loss last week. Like, people come back to earth. All kind of crazy stuff happens in week 1. So, let the season start to unfold before everybody starts, trying to fire everybody and start looking at the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. So look, if we go around the SEC right now, I was trying to see Mississippi State. They snuck on by Arizona 31-4. Did you catch any of that game at all?
I did not.
Yeah. I don't feel like
I was watching Colorado today.
Speaking of which, what do you think?
Hey, I mean, I don't.
Shamor Sanders,
he's over 900 yards passing already. He's got he's got like 10 incompletions on the year.
That 2-point conversion that I think they overturned, was insane.
Yeah, great athletic play. I mean, look, how is he not up for the Heisman?
Yeah, he should be.
He's got to be. I mean, it's a little too early to start talking all that stuff, but well, you'll find out, because I think they got to play USC and Oregon, and so some teams coming up here pretty soon. So you'll find out. But
what are the games you catch today?
I watched that one, and then I watched what was the game on right before ours? I watched Alabama and Texas. I had one on in between. It was just kind of on in the background.
North Carolina, Appalachian State.
No, I don't know. I just, whatever came on next, I went outside and did some stuff. So.
Yeah, they had a couple of good games, and it was kind of a ho-hum weekend, big games, Alabama, Texas.
Yeah, all the teams who played somebody week 1 didn't play anybody week 2.
Right.
And then vice versa, right?
Yeah. And so, we're sitting here at the end of week 2. We're 1-1, got everything to play for. And look, you could tell there's not a lot of excitement surrounding this game. At this point, last show we had 32 comments. Yeah. We've had two. Both said 72 points.
Yeah, look, I don't know who stayed up to watch that game. They probably flipped over and watched the Alabama game and then went to sleep. I think that look, we're exactly where we were last year at this point, right? We're 1-1. Right? We haven't won an opening week game in 4 years. Right?
Yeah,
that's
since 2019.
Yeah. We lost to what? UCLA. And then who was so there was somebody else in there we opened up with. So we got Florida State twice we lost to. I know UCLA was one of them. We went out there and lost. I'm trying to think who the fourth one was.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
so it hasn't been great.
No, but again, everything's right there.
Yeah. All right. What do we need to do to beat Mississippi State next week?
Well, you've now you got you got a real SEC opponent, right? And you got to turn it up a notch. Now you get to a real, right? You had that rough week. Now it's prep week, and you'll get back to a more normal work week in practice. And you just got to come out and start to be who you thought you were, right? You need some energy. You just need Look, you've got that loss already, right? Where there's no more pressure anymore. Just go out and play.
Yeah, we got an 11 a.m.
You don't need to do
kickoff.
anything special.
11
just
a.m.
go.
kickoff next week. Not looking forward to it.
No, but that's better than the 8:45 kickoff at night
Yeah,
in my mind. So
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. All right, let's wrap up this show. No,
yeah. Not a lot of action here in the chat room.
We're all tired. We're ready for
yeah.
the Saints game to kick off tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so let's get up. Any final thoughts, Coach?
Nah, again, I thought it was what it was from my standpoint. They're working on stuff. So you're not getting any gauge. We as fans have no idea what that game plan looks like on both sides of the ball and who they're trying to get reps and all that stuff. So it was clean. I think you can take that. Probably the only thing you can take away is on both sides of the ball, pretty much a very clean game. So that was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap here for Louisiana Saturday night, y'all. We'll have a much better show next week when we play Mississippi State. A lot more shit to talk about. All right.
No doubt.
All right. Go Tigers.
All right. Later.